A single round ripped straight through the chopper's fuel line, just moments before an RPG slammed into them. Riley Carter caught the red warning light flare to life, heard the pilot shout, "Brace." And then everything became fire and shredded metal. The Blackhawk spun out of control, crashing into the mountainside like a smashed toy. It should have killed them all. It nearly did. When Riley came to, she found only silence and 6 fallen teammates around her. She was the lone survivor. Her left arm was a mangled mess, bone stabbing through skin, her leg twisted in a way legs aren't meant to twist, blood soaking into the dirt. Through the broken glass of the cockpit, she saw enemy fighters closing in fast, rifles up and ready. Maybe 2 minutes before they reached her. 2 minutes to choose, sit there and die with the others, or drag her broken body into the woods and fight for her life in hostile territory with zero backup. Riley chose the second option. For 18 brutal hours, she crawled, treating her own wounds with her one working hand, dodging enemy patrols despite the kind of injuries that should have left her paralyzed. She took down 3 fighters who stumbled too close. Rainwater and pure stubbornness kept her going. And finally, she got a radio signal out. A Marine recon team 30 clicks away picked up her message. "Vanguard 23, this is Reaper 16. We're coming for you," the radio crackled. But command cut in immediately, "Reaper 16, negative. You are not cleared for a rescue. Complete your assigned mission and return to base." Staff Sergeant Jason Hale stared at his 4 Marines, men who had just heard an American operator bleeding out and apparently written off because someone behind a desk said the risk was too high. Hale shut off the command frequency and keyed Riley directly. "Vanguard 23, hold on. We'll reach you in 2 hours. Be ready to move, we're fighting our way out together." What followed would become the kind of story whispered with respect: a wounded medic who refused to die, Marines willing to break rules to save her, and a firefight through enemy territory proving some people are worth risking everything for. Before Major Tom's Tales shows you exactly how 5 Marines and 1 injured operator battled through nearly an entire enemy battalion, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and smash that subscribe button, because this story proves real warriors never leave anyone behind, no matter what. So let's roll back 18 hours, to the exact moment that helicopter slammed down hard. One moment, Riley Carter was double-checking her M4 in the back of a Blackhawk skimming low through a mountain valley. The next, an RPG shot out of nowhere and everything dissolved into pure chaos. A deafening blast, the aircraft spinning wildly, engines screaming like they were being ripped apart, bodies slamming into metal walls, gear flying like shrapnel, and that brief, weightless second before the world punished them with the full force of gravity. Then came the crash, metal screeching as the helicopter smashed into the mountainside and rolled. Riley's head cracked against something solid and the lights went out. She woke to her ears ringing and blood pooling in her mouth. The helicopter lay on its side, smoke pouring from the engine space. Through busted windows she saw broken branches and a slice of dull gray sky. The stench of fuel and scorched electronics burned her nose, mixing with the metallic taste of blood. Her left arm was pinned beneath a chunk of twisted bulkhead. When she tried to shift it, a white-hot blast of pain tore through her body, making her vision tilt and nausea crawl up her throat. She looked, and saw bones sticking out of her own flesh. A nasty compound fracture. Bad news. Her right leg was bent wrong, too. Not broken, she could still feel her toes, but seriously damaged. Torn ligaments at the very least. But she was alive. She was breathing. Which meant she still had a job to do. "Sound off," she croaked, her voice barely audible. She swallowed blood, forced volume into her next call. "Anyone still alive? Sound off." Nothing. Not even a groan. Just that awful quiet that's worse than screaming. Riley shoved panic down. She was a combat medic on a quick reaction mission meant to evacuate wounded troops under fire. this wasn't the moment to fall apart. Her aid bag was somehow still strapped to her vest. She forced herself to check the others, already fearing the truth but needing confirmation. The pilots were gone, crushed forward by the violent impact against a boulder. The crew chief hung limp at his gun station, neck twisted unnaturally. Sergeant Noah Reed, their team lead, had been thrown halfway out the torn fuselage. No pulse. Specialist Alex Torres was trapped beneath gear, eyes staring blankly. PFC Mia Park was still belted in, blood spreading beneath her seat. Every one of them, dead. 6 total on board. Riley Carter, the only one still alive. Voices drifted from outside, faint at first, then louder. Not English. Local fighters closing in, drawn by the trail of smoke marking the crash like a flare. Her right hand, the only useful one, grabbed her aid bag and dug out a tourniquet. Blood pumped steadily from her shattered arm. Not arterial, but enough to end her if she didn't act fast. She bit down and tightened the strap using her good hand. Pain spiked so brutally her vision pinballed with black dots, but the flow slowed to a thick, steady leak. She had bought herself a little more time. The voices outside kept creeping closer. Riley could hear boots crunching over debris, men calling out positions as they circled the wreck. That was all she needed to make up her mind. Staying meant dying. The helicopter was nothing but a twisted coffin waiting to be sealed. She had to move, now. With her good arm and the one leg that still obeyed her, she dragged herself toward the ripped-open side of the fuselage. She grabbed Sergeant Reed's M4, still loaded, and stripped 2 spare magazines from his vest. She took his radio, his canteen, and his sidearm. From Mia Park she pulled more ammo and a smoke grenade. The crew chief had the survival kit, so she snagged that too. Then she slid out through the torn metal and dropped into the brush below. Pain tore up her leg like fire, but she clenched her jaw and crawled into deeper cover, dragging herself along with sheer willpower. She made it maybe 50 meters before the first group of enemies arrived at the wreck. Riley froze, peering through leaves as 8 fighters armed with AKs closed in on the helicopter. They moved confidently, checking every body, stripping gear, completely unaware of her watching. It took every ounce of restraint not to start shooting. 8 armed targets versus 1 shot-up medic with limited ammo. That was suicide. And then things got worse. 2 of them began directing the others into defensive positions. They were prepping for a rescue attempt, setting up an ambush. If she stayed anywhere near that wreck, she was done. Riley kept crawling, careful not to leave a clear trail. About 200 meters out, she heard a shout. Someone had spotted her. Blood drops. Gunfire ripped through the foliage, chewing into the spot she'd just occupied. Riley rolled behind a tree, steadied the M4 one-handed, and waited. A fighter burst through the brush, rifle up. She held until he was close, 10 meters, and then fired. 3 short bursts. 9 rounds. He collapsed, weapon clacking against rock. Shouts erupted. The others were shifting toward her position, tightening the noose. Riley glanced at her ammo, 20 rounds in the mag, 2 full spares. 80 rounds total against a small squad that knew this terrain far better than she did. Not good odds. She yanked the smoke grenade's pin, tossed it toward the voices, and gray clouds spilled out like a curtain. Under the cover, she forced herself upright, hobbling forward in a painful half-run. Her M4 hugged close in her right hand, her ruined left arm dangling and hastily wrapped. Every step sent lightning through her leg, but stopping wasn't an option. Behind her, she heard the fighters barking orders. They knew she was hurt. They knew she couldn't get far. And they were hunting. Riley pushed forward through a shallow stream bed, climbed a rocky incline that left streaks of her blood on the stone, and crawled into thick forest where heavy brush finally offered some cover. She spotted a natural dip in the ground shielded by fallen logs. Not perfect, but good enough to buy time. She slid into the hollow and immediately started reinforcing it, dragging branches into place to hide her outline while carving tiny gaps she could shoot through if she had to. The enemy was still searching, but she'd managed to lose them at the water crossing. Their distant voices drifted through the trees as they spread out, but they weren't close enough to see her, yet. She checked her wounds again. The tourniquet on her shattered arm needed tweaking. She loosened it just a bit to allow some blood flow while still keeping things under control. The limb was ballooning with swelling, bone shards still visible through shredded skin. Her leg was a disaster too, sharp waves of pain radiated from her knee up to her hip every time she shifted. Torn ligaments for sure. She splinted it with 2 sturdy branches and paracord to keep it steady. Then she took inventory. Reed's M4, 80 rounds left. His Beretta, 15 rounds plus 1 chambered. 1 smoke grenade. Her medic kit, barely stocked now. 2 small water bottles. A survival kit. Not a lot, but enough to keep going for a bit. The sun dipped away, shadows deepening across the forest. Riley tested the radio, miraculously still functional. She extended the antenna and tuned to the emergency channel but didn't transmit yet. If the enemy detected her signal, they'd zero in fast. So she waited. Conserve strength. Listen to their movements. Darkness settled fully. She could see their campfires flickering near the crash site, sentries posted around the perimeter. She counted at least a dozen fighters now. Reinforcements had definitely arrived. Riley waited until 0200 hours, when exhaustion dulls the sharpest eyes. Then she keyed the mic. Any station, this is Vanguard 23. I'm wounded and immobile, grid November Kilo 7426. Requesting immediate extraction. Over. For a moment, only static. Then, Vanguard 23, this is Reaper 16. Authenticate Hotel Victor 3-7. Relief hit her like a wave. Someone heard. Someone was coming. Hotel Victor 3-7, authentication correct, she replied. Reaper 16. I've been alone for 18 hours. My team is Kia. Injuries to my left arm and right leg. Minimal ammo. Hostile forces closing on my location. And then the words she needed most, Vanguard 23, we're coming to get you. Hold position. Keep transmissions minimal. We'll reach you in 2 hours. Riley checked her watch. 2:15. If they arrived by 4:15, darkness would still be on their side. For the first time since the crash, real hope sparked in her chest. Meanwhile, Staff Sergeant Jason Hale was already ghosting through the forest, moving with predatory silence. His 4-man recon element stayed tight on his heels. Corporal Ryan Brooks on point, Lance Corporal Ethan Cruz guarding their rear, and Corpsman Leo Ramirez in the center, 12 kilometers covered in 90 minutes through terrain that could swallow a careless man whole. Reaper 16, this is Overwatch, the radio cut in. Extraction at that location is not authorized. Advise you complete primary mission and RTB. Hale had expected exactly that. Overwatch, Reaper 16 acknowledges. Be advised, we are already committed. We'll notify once the package is secure. He switched frequencies before they could argue. The mission had just changed, from orders written on paper to a life that mattered. Reaper 16, you are not authorized, the transmission cut short as Staff Sergeant Jason Hale switched channels. He'd sort out the fallout later. Corporal Ryan Brooks suddenly raised a fist, halt. The team froze instantly. Through night vision, Hale spotted 2 enemy lookouts positioned on a ridge. He signaled Brooks and Lance Corporal Ethan Cruz forward. The 2 Marines moved like they were made of smoke. 2 suppressed snaps later, the sentries crumpled without a sound. Brooks and Cruz dragged the bodies under brush and motioned all clear. By 3:45 hours, they hit the designated coordinates. The helicopter wreck lay 300 meters east, heavily guarded, about a dozen fighters dug in around it. But Riley's location was separate, tucked deep into terrain that gave perfect natural concealment. Hale keyed the radio softly. Vanguard 23. Reaper 16 at Rally Point Alpha. Pop green for confirmation. A faint blink of green light flickered ahead, an IR strobe. There, Brooks whispered. They approached with extreme caution. At first Hale didn't even spot her, her concealment was that good. Then he saw movement. A woman in her mid-20s, dark hair matted with blood, left arm splinted and wrapped in soaked bandages, right leg braced as well. Her eyes were sharp, weapon up, aimed steady at Brooks until she verified they were friendlies. "Took you long enough," Riley muttered, voice rough but steady. "Thought maybe you guys got held up." Corpsman Leo Ramirez moved in immediately. "Let me check you out." Left arm, compound fracture. Right leg, probable MCL tear, Riley reported like she was reading a chart. Tourniquet and splints in place. "I can move, just not fast. And there are at least 12 bad guys waiting to ambush whoever tries to save me." Hale respected her instantly. Tough. Focused. Zero quit. Your ammo. 68 rounds, 5. 56, 16 rounds, 9 millimeters. 1 smoke. You'll need every bit. Hale unfolded his map. 3 clicks to extraction. Enemy forces between us and that point. We're punching through. Brooks glanced toward the wreck. 12 hostiles. 3 on the perimeter. 9 inside. PKM and RPG visible. "They're baiting a rescue bird," Riley said. "Probably got manpads too. Any helicopter coming here is toast." "Which is why we're walking," Hale replied. "Ramirez, stabilize her. We're out in 5. Ramirez tightened bandages, checked circulation. He offered morphine. Riley shook her head. "Need to stay alert." "I'm good." But the moment Ramirez lifted her, her leg buckled, he caught her before she hit the dirt. "Okay, maybe a little help," she admitted. Brooks took her other side, supporting her weight. "Standard movement," Hale ordered. "Weapons out. Diaz on rear. We stay quiet until quiet isn't an option. Then we go loud and fast." Questions? Silence. That meant everyone understood. "All right. Let's bring our girl home." They covered maybe 500 meters, before the enemy found FEMA patrol drifted in from the north, 4 fighters moving like they owned the night. Hale spotted them first and signaled a silent freeze. Everyone dropped low, Riley clamping down on a cry of pain as Brooks and Ramirez eased her into the dirt. The patrol was about to pass within 20 meters. Then one of the enemy stumbled, his AK rattling loudly against a rock. The sharp metallic clang cut through the dark. The man stiffened and scanned the area like a predator sniffing danger. His gaze swept right over their hiding spot, and stopped. His eyes locked onto Brooks. His mouth opened to shout. Hale fired before a sound left the man's throat. A tight double tap dropped him instantly. Brooks and Cruz followed with synchronized shots. 3 seconds. 4 hostiles down. Silence shattered. "Move! Move!" Hale hissed. The element of stealth had officially evaporated. Brooks and Ramirez hauled Riley upright and pushed forward fast. Even injured, Riley kept her M4 raised, scanning both flanks with her one good arm. Shouts rose from the crash site. Flashlights danced between trees. The clack of rifles being charged echoed like snapping bones. "Contact, rear!" Cruz yelled, hitting a knee and opening fire. Multiple targets, closing fast. Hale pivoted and joined the fight. Through night vision he counted at least 8 fighters pushing hard, firing as they advanced. "Ramirez, get her out of here," Hale ordered. "Brooks stays with you. Cruz and I will slow them down." Brooks didn't argue, he scooped Riley onto his shoulders in a fireman's carry and sprinted. Ramirez took point, guiding them through brush and shadows. Hale and Cruz fell back in controlled bursts, one laying down fire while the other moved. The enemy stayed aggressive, refusing to break off even as some fell. Rounds chewed a tree trunk beside Hale's head, showering him with splinters. He rolled, lined up a shot, and dropped another fighter cleanly from 40 meters out. "We've gotta break contact," Cruz warned. "They're swinging left to cut us off." Hale could see it too, the enemy trying to close the trap around them. "Fall back to Brooks. Lay smoke and move." Cruz pulled the pin on a smoke canister, thick white fumes spilled into the trees, buying precious seconds. They dashed for the small ravine where Brooks and Ramirez had taken cover with Riley. Brooks was working the radio. Still nothing. "They're jamming us," he growled. "Electronic warfare capability," Riley muttered. "That's why I couldn't call earlier. We're on our own." Bullets cracked overhead, punching into the dirt walls around them. Hale did a quick mental count. 5 shooters plus 1 wounded operator, against at least 15 hostiles who knew every inch of this terrain. 3-to-1 odds. No backup. No help coming. Something needed to change, and fast. "How much C4 do we have?" Hale asked. Brooks checked his pack. 2 bricks. Remote dets. Hale's brain fired instantly, dangerous, borderline insane, but their only shot. "Give me one." He turned to Brooks. "You're in charge now. Get everyone to extraction point Bravo. 2 clicks southeast. I'll pull them away and link up later." "Staff Sergeant, that's suicide." "That's an order, Corporal." His tone left zero room for debate. "Your mission is the important one, getting her home. I'll buy the time." As Hale prepared to break away, Riley grabbed his sleeve, eyes fierce despite exhaustion. "Whatever you're planning, make it worth it. I didn't survive that crash just to watch you die saving me." Hale gave her a crooked grin. "I'm not planning on dying tonight. But I am planning on making them regret picking this fight." He snagged the C4 and bounded off into the dark, intentionally loud, leaving a clear trail. Behind him, Brooks tightened his grip on Riley and Ramirez moved out. The withdrawal had officially begun. Enemy gunfire shifted toward Hale as he made a loud, obvious escape route for them to follow. He sprinted roughly 300 meters before spotting the perfect terrain feature, a tight natural corridor that funneled movement into a narrow kill zone. Ideal for an ambush. He dropped to a knee, planted the C4 brick in the choke point, rigged the detonator with a pressure-release trigger, and covered it with dirt and leaves. Then he backed off another 100 meters and set up with a clean line of sight. The first shapes appeared, fighters pushing forward in a loose formation. Hale counted 12. More than he'd hoped, but that meant fewer chasing Brooks and the others. He held fire, waiting until the majority were stacked inside the blast radius. Then he squeezed the trigger. A roaring blast of fire tore the night open, 3 full seconds of blinding light and deafening destruction. The shockwave rattled Hale's teeth from 100 meters away. Trees flattened. The valley boomed like thunder rolling off mountainsides. When smoke finally thinned, 8 bodies were scattered in the kill zone. The remaining 4 staggered in confusion. Hale didn't stick around to admire his work. He bolted southeast toward the extraction zone, putting as much chaos between him and those still on his heels. Behind him, the survivors regrouped. Angrier. Sloppier. Exactly what he needed. Meanwhile, Brooks' group was gaining distance now that Hale had peeled off enemy pressure. But Riley was fading fast, her strength burned by blood loss and damaged limbs. Every few steps she stumbled. Contact! Cruz barked. 3 fighters appeared ahead, flanking Element. Brooks and Ramirez dropped Riley into cover and opened up. The range was tight, no time for mistakes. Even shot up and exhausted, Riley raised her M4 with her one good arm and dropped the leftmost target cleanly. The other 2 fighters fell seconds later under Brooks and Ramirez's bursts. 5 seconds. 3 enemies down. But when Brooks turned back toward Riley, her eyes were glassy, she was slipping away. "She's going into shock," Ramirez warned after checking her pulse. "If we don't stabilize her now, she's done. If we stop here, we're done," Brooks shot back. "If she keeps moving like this, she's done," Ramirez said, just as firm. Before Brooks could argue again, a distant, suppressed crack echoed from the dark, followed by bursts of AK fire. Hale was still out there, still fighting for them. "Perimeter now," Brooks ordered. "Ramirez, 5 minutes. Cruz, rear watch." Ramirez worked fast, tightening the tourniquet, starting 4 fluids to counter shock, jabbing antibiotics to keep infection at bay. Brooks and Cruz watched the night through NVGs, rifles steady. Far off, Hale's lone rifle cracked again, and again, always answered by a swarm of return fire. A one-man war. "He's outnumbered 10-1, Cruz muttered. "He'll keep buying time," Brooks replied quietly. "That's who he is." Riley's eyes fluttered open, clearer now. "How much farther?" "Click and a half if we hustle," Ramirez answered. She grit her teeth. "Then we hustle. He's risking everything. We don't waste it." Brooks helped her stand. Cruz moved out. Riley forced herself forward between Ramirez and Brooks, sheer will keeping her upright. The extraction zone was just ahead, a small clearing marked as a potential landing site for a rescue bird. They reached the clearing, and Brooks immediately set up a defensive perimeter while Ramirez tried the radio again. The signal came through clean, they'd finally outrun the jamming. "Overwatch, this is Reaper 16 Bravo," Ramirez transmitted. "We're at extraction point Bravo with a wounded friendly. Request immediate close air support and medevac, over." A long pause crackled across the comms. "Reaper 16 Bravo, confirm you have Vanguard 23. "Affirmative," Ramirez replied. "She's hurt but stable. We also have 1 Marine separated, engaging hostiles approximately 1 click northwest." Another tense silence. Then, "Copy. Fast movers en route. ETA 12 minutes. Medevac bird 15 behind. Can you hold?" Brooks scanned his team, 3 Marines, 1 severely wounded operator, low ammo, and an unknown number of hostiles closing in under cover of darkness. "We'll hold," he answered. "Tell them to step on it." Those 12 minutes felt like an eternity stretched thin. Brooks positioned everyone in a tight 360 degrees defense around Riley, who, despite tubes in her arm and bleeding wounds, kept her M4 locked in her grip, ready to fire with her one good hand. "Every shadow could hide someone," he murmured. "Every sound could be the start of a charge." "Movement, 2 o'clock, Cruz whispered, aiming into the tree lean. Brooks shifted to cover the same direction. Shapes moved between branches, silhouettes creeping closer, calling to each other quietly. "Hold fire unless they spot us," Brooks said. "No need to give away our spot early." The enemy patrol drew nearer, weapons up, scanning hard, 50 meters, 40. They weren't sneaking, they were hunting. Riley steadied her breathing, finger gently tightening on the trigger. One fighter froze, staring directly at their position. He raised his hand, signal to stop. "They see us," Ramirez breathed. The man inhaled to shout, Brooks fired first. A controlled 3-round burst dropped him instantly, but the silence shattered. The remaining fighters scattered into cover and unleashed gunfire. Muzzle flashes stuttered across the dark. Bullets cracked overhead and slammed into tree bark around them. Brooks, Ramirez, and Cruz responded with disciplined, surgical bursts. Riley picked her shots, firing one-handed but deadly accurate, dropping a flanker before he even got a shot off. Left side. Cruz yelled as more hostiles poured in, drawn by the firefight. 6 enemies became 10, then 12. "They're surrounding us," Ramirez shouted over the roar. Brooks realized they were seconds away from being overrun, outgunned, low ammo, enemies everywhere. And then, they heard it. The sharp, rising howl of jet engines. "Heads down!" Brooks yelled. The F-18 Super Hornet screamed overhead, already locked onto enemy positions by Brooks' GPS beacon. Their 20mm cannons opened up, ripping fire through the treeline in long, thunderous bursts. The forest shook under the assault, trees splintered, dirt erupted, and the enemy attack evaporated under sheer firepower. When the jets pulled away, silence replaced gunfire. No more movement. No more threats. Brooks keyed the mic. "Dagger 11, this is Reaper 16 Bravo. Good hits. You just saved our skins." "Glad to assist, Reaper," the pilot replied. "Your ride is inbound, 2 minutes. Pop smoke for the bird." Brooks yanked a smoke grenade, tossed it into the clearing, and purple clouds billowed into the air, marking their lifeline. Hale was down to his final magazine when the sound of fast movers ripped across the sky. He quickly activated his infrared strobe to mark his position. "Reaper 16, this is Dagger 11, a pilot's voice crackled through the radio. "We've got your strobe, painting enemy positions now." "Be advised," Hale replied, "friendlies are 1 click southeast at Extraction Point Bravo. Everything northwest is hostile. Danger close." "Copy that, Reaper. Keep your head down." Hale flattened himself as 20mm cannon fire shredded the forest with precise, controlled fury. 3 seconds of sheer destruction felt like a lifetime. When the jets pulled up, silence swept across the trees, no shouts, no shots. The enemy force hunting him was gone. "Dagger 11, Reaper 16, Hale transmitted. Solid hits. Area clear." "Roger, Reaper. Medevac is waiting at your rally point. Time to move." Hale sprinted toward the extraction zone, covering the distance in record time despite exhaustion chewing at his legs. He burst into the clearing. Brooks immediately aimed at him, then lowered his weapon with visible relief. "Good to see you, Staff Sergeant," Brooks exhaled. "Better to be seen than buried, Corporal," Hale smirked. He moved straight to Riley, who sat propped against a tree while Ramirez monitored her vitals. "How's our VIP?" Hale asked. "Still kicking," Riley managed with a thin smile. "Thanks to your team," Hale corrected. "And thanks to you refusing to die." Rotor blades thundered overhead as a Blackhawk dropped into the clearing. Door gunners scanned the dark while medics prepared to receive the wounded. Brooks and Ramirez lifted Riley into the helicopter. She looked back at the Marines who refused to abandon her. "Thank you," she whispered over the noise. "I owe you everything." "You owe us nothing," Hale called back. "You're one of ours. We never leave our people behind." The bird lifted and disappeared into the night, carrying Riley Carter toward safety. Moments later, a second helicopter landed to pick up the recon team. As they boarded, Brooks shot Hale a look. "You think they'll hammer us for ignoring orders?" Hale grinned. "Oh, definitely. But worth every second." 2 weeks later, Riley Carter lay in a hospital bed at Avalon Ridge Regional Medical Center, left arm fully casted, right leg elevated and wrapped. Her shattered arm required plates and pins, the torn ligaments would take months to heal, but she was alive. The door opened. Staff Sergeant Jason Hale stepped in with his recon team behind him, dress blues pressed, boots like mirrors. "We heard you were awake," Hale said. "Figured we'd come check on you." "I heard you guys got chewed out for coming after me," Riley replied. "How bad was it?" Brooks chuckled, already smirking. Brooks chuckled. "Let's just say we've been voluntold for some extra duty. But the CO also put us in for commendations, so it kinda balances out." "You shouldn't have risked it," Riley said, though even she didn't sound convinced. "Going after one wounded medic when you had a primary mission." "You're not just one wounded medic," Ramirez cut in, voice firm. "You survived a helicopter crash, treated yourself while under fire, avoided capture for 18 hours with broken bones, and still laid down cover fire during extraction. You're absolutely worth saving." "And seriously," Cruz added, "what kind of Marines would we be if we left someone behind just because command thought it was inconvenient?" Hale stepped forward and placed something on her bedside table, a Marine Recon Battalion Challenge coin. "We voted," he said. "It's yours. You may not wear the same uniform we do, but you've got the heart of a Marine. And if you ever need anything at all, you know how to reach us." Riley lifted the coin with her good hand, feeling its weight and everything it symbolized. "Thank you," she whispered. "For all of this." "No," Hale said. "Thank you. For refusing to quit. For reminding us exactly why we fight." When the team left, Riley sat quietly, turning the coin in her fingers, thinking about the crash that should have killed her, the hours of pain and fear, that first radio call where hope finally broke through the darkness. She thought about Hale's decision to risk his entire team, to break orders in the name of doing what was right. The decision that saved her life. So she made a promise. When she healed, when she returned to full strength, she would pay that forward. She would be the operator who never left anyone behind. Who took the risks necessary to bring people home. Because real warriors fight for each other. They sacrifice for each other. They never give up on each other. Even when the odds say it's hopeless. Even when leadership says no. Even when it's easier to walk away. Some debts can never be fully repaid. But Riley Carter would spend the rest of her career trying. Thanks for watching Major Tom's Tales. Don't forget to like, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe for more incredible stories every day.